That is our top story at 5. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining us tonight. I'm Greg Adeline. Jane has the night off. State lawmakers are expected to approve the final funding numbers for local governments, and that'll likely mean a small increase in cash to local communities from last year. But as Joe Khalil reports, local officials say it won't make up for the heavy cuts that they've dealt with over the past few years.
Do more with less. In the past 10 years, that seemed to be a common theme among local governments across the state.
Revenue sharing was a pretty significant increase.
State Rep Earl Pileski is part of a state conference committee expected to approve an increase in funding for local governments between 3 and 5% from last year.
Revenues are up generally over the past 3 years. Things are better,
but not as good as local governments hoped. The increase is much lower than the 15% which Governor Snyder recommended.
This is about $20 million or more or less than what the governor had suggested.
Whatever the increase is this just a drop in the bucket compared to what you've lost in the past couple years?
It absolutely is.
East Lansing Mayor Nathan Triplett says the city's lost about $20 million in the past decade due to state cuts.
While any increase in funding is a welcome change, we're still trying to make up from the cuts of the last 10 years, let alone building towards the future.
Mayor Triplett says because of the state's history of disinvestment, he was never counting on the governor's 15% increase. In fact, he says the city of East Lansing already budgeted for just 3.5%.
And Triplett isn't the only one skeptical of state help.
We have been getting the short end of the stick for over a decade from the state.
Lansing Mayor Verge Bernero says the city's worked with more than $70 million less in the past decade because of state cuts.
The legislature has really used local governments as their piggy bank.
He says any increase is welcome, but it certainly isn't enough. In Lansing, Joe Khalil, 6 News.